Hello, beloved friends, partners in oneness. Today, I'd like to talk about love, and really, it's the most important thing that could be shared, but it's not a thing at all in any way, and it already is shared. You already are that. But in terms of making a video about something, I can't think of anything more important. And in this, I'll also talk a little bit about the end of seeking. So if the title of this video has called you, perhaps there's a reason. Perhaps something inside you brought you to this video. So what I want to start with is I want to ask you, what do you value the most? Right? If you were to make a list of your values, what's the top value? See? And it's interesting. You can even pause the video and try to do this, to make a list and see what is the most important thing in my heart of hearts. What's the most important thing? And, I feel that until the answer to that is God, truth, being, love, spirit, whatever you want to call it, as long as that's not on the top, then other things are more important. And as long as other things are more important, it seems as though we'll keep moving outwards to find those other things or to express those other values in hopes that they'll kind of give us some kind of lasting happiness. And they don't. They don't. You see, at some point there has to be, you have to break in a way and say, you know what, I've tried to do this, I've tried to do that, and I've tried to be happy this way, and I've tried to be happy that way, and I'm not. You see, it's misery, isn't it, that seeks happiness. But even when it gets something, the guy, the girl, the money, the success, the reputation, the whatever, recognition, whatever it is, the thing, the object, the attainment only distracts from the underlying misery. It doesn't remove it. The misery is still there. And what I maintain, and you don't have to believe me, but what I maintain is that the only thing that removes that misery is, again, there's no word for it. It's indescribable, but love with the capital L, or God. Because it's home. It's home. It's the only home there is. It's what you are, and you long for yourself, or you long for God, you long for spirit, you long for something that you can never find in form, ever. You can, I'm not saying reincarnation is real, but if you believe in it, you can come back again and again and again and again and again and look outwardly, and you still will miss. That's the meaning of sin, right? It's missing the mark. Chet in Hebrew. It's from the word lachti, to miss. That's the meaning of the word. So you miss it, and you miss yourself because of that. You miss home. You see, so I feel that perhaps the luckiest ones of those listening in are those whose life isn't going as they wish. It's not working out. You hoped your life would turn a certain way, and lo and behold, here you are, not living the life you hope you lived, or things just aren't, working out as you want them to. That's great. That's great. That's grace. If the external fails you, that's grace working to take you back in. And as we go back in, there has to be a point, a moment, where we're willing to stand completely alone, utterly and totally alone. And what do I mean by alone? I mean that the crowd in your mind, the teachers that occupy your mind, the book knowledge that you've read that occupies your mind, you're willing for a moment to be alone, to be without that. No teachers, nothing I've learned before. No, nothing. I just am naked and willing, calling in my heart to know the truth directly. Because a teacher can't give it to you because it's indirect. It's his knowledge or her knowledge. It's her experience. I'm talking about knowing for yourself, right? Directly. There has to be that moment. That's really the meaning of being still. Be still and know that I am God. Is be still, be quiet, be without all of those concepts practically that you carry with you, and be without time also. Be without past, and there's no future. And then all that's left is this, whatever this is. But it's love, it's peace, it's home, and once that's discovered, there's nothing else that's needed. So now, after that simple moment of stillness, of being willing to be completely naked and alone, you find that you really never are alone in this love. You see, that's why I called you my partners in oneness. See, we're all this amazingness that is indescribable. And then once you have a direct revelation. It's not coming secondhand from a book, from knowledge acquired, from thinking, or going into something, following somebody's method of, you're just naked. It's just you and God. And so after that, something else moves you, which you could call spirit, as opposed to ego. As opposed to what I mean by ego is the misery that feels that you're not complete, and you keep needing things and moving to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next teacher and to the next book and to the next this and to the next that, right? The next retreat or the next relationship or the next. Yeah, so instead of moving out of that constant neediness of the ego, which is an attempt to cover up the misery, something else begins to move you. And so, this is the movement of truth or honesty or sincerity or alignment, So it all springs from that moment where you finally pivot from being moved by this neediness that's looking for completion in form, in the world, and sometimes in very subtle ways. Sometimes it tells you, no, I'm not really looking for completion in form. It convinces you that, I'm a meditator, so I'm definitely not looking for it in form. But you're looking for it in some sort of activity. It's still something that you have to do to get it, you see. Yeah, and the moment that I was talking about being still is there's this absolute sincerity of heart, genuineness. It's when when God or the self is the thing that you want above all else, because everything else has failed you. And in talking about this, I want to read you something from A Course in Miracles. Which just explains this so beautifully. It's from lesson 189 in A Course in Miracles, which is called it's titled, "I Feel the Love of God Within Me Now." And I'll just read a bit from the beginning, and then the main part that really expresses, I think, so beautifully and poetically what I've been saying so far. So it says, "There is a light in you the world cannot perceive. And with its eyes, you will not see this light with the world's eyes, with the body's eyes. You will not see this light, for you are blinded by the world." Right? Yet you do have eyes to see it. It is there for you to look upon. To feel the love of God within you is to see the world anew, shining in innocence, alive with hope, and blessed with perfect charity and love. This is the world the love of God reveals. It is so different from the world you see through darkened eyes of malice and of fear. Now, how do we see this world? It says simply do this. Listen closely, and if you will, close your eyes and open your heart. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. All concepts you have learned about the world. All images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world. Forget this course. Forget any teaching, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. And it goes on to say that when you do this, God will do his part in joyful and immediate response. Ask and receive. And as I said earlier, the asking, though, it has to be genuine. It has to be sincere. You know, it's wanting nothing else. And why should you want anything else when the world has failed you over and over and over again, in the sense that it does not provide happiness that is lasting. It provides happiness that is distracting you from this underlying sense of incompletion, perhaps inadequacy, perhaps either you're inadequate, life's inadequate, something is not enough. And it's funny almost because that love is everything. And then what happens is that there's no more that movement outwards, and there's just peace. You know, I see a lot, I do sessions with people, and I see sometimes I can tell immediately when someone comes to me and they are really enjoying the seeking. And there's nothing wrong with seeking or enjoying the seeking. But what I see formulating is this an attachment to the identity of being a seeker, right? Like a seeker is who you are in life now, and and it becomes your identity. And my question to you then, the one who's noticing that this is so in your case, who would you be without that identity? And you might find that there's perhaps a sense of relief, a sense of peace, because suddenly nothing's missing. It's all whole already. It's always been whole. It's just that we listen to the ego, and then the ego says, no, it's not whole. I need to be with that person, or I need to have more money in the bank, or I need to have this. And it just doesn't know who you are, It just doesn't know who you are. You're taking advice from the wrong voice. In terms of wrong in the sense of leading to happiness, because it can't lead you to happiness. It doesn't know where happiness comes from. And happiness comes from nothing external. It comes from the love that you are and being in contact with that love, right? That love has never forsaken you. You've forsaken it by listening to the ego. And so it seems as though it's lost. It seems as though you don't already have everything, but you are everything. You have everything. You've been given everything. Everything is God-given. So when you realize that you're attached to the identity of being a seeker, and you sit with the question, who am I without this identity? and a sense of peace begins to arise, I encourage you to dive into that. Don't just say, oh, it's peaceful without being a seeker, and then continue, and then go back in to the ego world. Why do I invite you to God's world? You're invited. That's all this is, really. All these videos are just an invitation, because this can't be taught, nor does it need to be taught, because you already are it and you already know it intuitively. It's just that there will be that moment where you say yes to it, where you no longer convince yourself that you have more things to accomplish in the world, or to become something or someone, or to achieve recognition, or to achieve this or that or the other, whatever it is, you see, or to be understood by people, or always wanting something, the ego, and thereby creating this sense of lack, which is not real. You don't lack anything. You're just believing this voice that tells you that you are lacking, and that something outside of you is going to complete you. So I invite you to step into this total fullness. It's so full that there can't be anything lacking in it. And this is just all I wanted to share with you in this video today. Heart to heart. One heart, really. And I just love you. I wish there was a way to convey this. But it's okay, because you are this already. And the moment there's sort of like a decision in the mind that you can't really control when that moment comes, but there is a moment that comes that there's sort of like a decision in the mind to just be with God, because God is all you want, right? And it's not being with some entity. When I say God, I mean love, right? This love. It's just everywhere. It reminds me of one last thing I'll share with you before we close here, which is that one time I asked God, because I love the approach that like the Sufis have to God, where they call him the beloved or the friend. So it's like talking to a friend, but if this friend loves you perfectly, just as you are, perfectly. And this friend is home, and this friend is infinite wisdom too. And so in speaking with it and being quiet and still and just allowing the response to arise, you can receive any wisdom that is relevant for you in the moment if your asking is sincere. And so I asked once, tell me about this impatience that I experienced, because I noticed that in many situations, like impatience was almost a theme in Daniel's life, of these moments of just being so aggravated and so impatient when things weren't moving, or there seemed to be obstacles, blocks on the path and things like that. And there's an impatience. I'm talking in a very practical sense. Sometimes impatience when you're actually out in the world doing things, and even like driving, and so the person in front of you is driving insanely slow and all of that. So I just simply asked God from my heart to shed light about this impatience. And I all of a sudden felt extremely calm. I just was quiet and let the response come. I didn't think my way to it. And this calmness overcame me. And then the words followed, where are you trying to get to? It stunned me in that moment, because I had no answer, because everything that I want, I already am. God lives in your heart. And so really, where are we trying to get to? It's always, again, as the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And once I get that, and it's like, no, nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to happen. It's already whole. And so there's no real need to be impatient, you see. So you can talk to God and get the answers. And in fact, I encourage, it's not really about the answers, it's about God becoming a living reality in your heart. Yeah, and then that becomes more real than everything that the body's eyes see. Way more real. This is secondary. The real reality is that love. Yeah. I love you so much. I'll see you when I see you.